Hi guys, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So in the past I've uploaded a screen recording and then I've used my mouse to kind of highlight things. But I thought if I record my audio as well, and sort of walk you through it and give you an update on where things are going and how I'm thinking about certain things, I thought it might give a little bit more to this update. So I'll just assume that. So I know that a lot of people have been following the updates and you're giving the responses in the Discord, but I'll give this update for the consideration of others that sort of haven't been following. This is maybe the first time that you're seeing this. So I announced Ring Executive Pro a few months ago. I kind of designed a few screens in December and I put them out there, and I got a lot of good feedback, and people thought that this is the game that, the cross between Football Manager and sort of bringing the good parts of EWR and modernizing it. A lot of people reacted quite positively to it. So we've gone from just a bunch of screens to what you're seeing here. This is kind of, if I was to ship this now, this is the game that you would. So this is an actual game. This is a real game itself. It's wired up. I'm going to load a game that I've created a game world generator, which I'll talk about. So I'm just going to load the game that I've already created, and I just wanted to show you what's. So this is stuff that if you've seen the previous updates, you've seen this before. The heart of the game obviously is the news screen, and you can see that we've got this automatically generated welcome message from Michael Strach. He's the owner of Ring Pro World. And as you sort of continue the game, you would have more news items generated procedurally from the game itself. This was really crucial. This is kind of how you get communicated how updates happen in the game. And then the next part is equally important, was actually getting a roster done. At this point, before I actually started this work, this was a very complicated user interface. To have something where you could switch between different views and you have this drawer filtering in and all of this stuff, this was quite complicated, but it was a little bit more complicated because in order to actually do this, I needed the wrestlers there. And I didn't have any data. So for example, if I wanted to demote Bruno, I need to have other wrestlers so I can see the thing moving along. And the issue that I had was I can either spend some time. I've had some people volunteer to do data updates and sort of create data, but I don't have an editor for them. And also, I don't feel good. This is something that sometimes I'm motivated to work on, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes real life comes in, so you have pets, girlfriends and things like that, and I have a full-time job as well, so I didn't want people to work on something when I wasn't, if it was near to completion, then I'd feel happier about it because I know that work is going to go to something, but I don't want people to sort of contribute when we're so close, we're so really at the start of this project. So anyway, it wasn't a possibility that I designed the data pack myself, so I could go and research all the current wrestlers and decide on a scenario and try and do that, but it would take absolutely forever. And really what I want to do is actually build the game, not research data. So I ended up creating something that automatically generates all these workers. And as you can see, it's generated main eventers, upper mid-carders. This is either a national or a global scale promotion, so they've got a pretty big roster. And what I've had to do is I've had to create a configuration, so based on how many main eventers are there, what sort of so let's have a look at the overness. So you have main eventers for a global, this has to be a global promotion because you can see that they're pretty high, so you have their main eventers to generate faces, heels, to give them gimmicks as well. So if we look at the characteristics, some of them have their gimmicks and so on. To assign all of this and to automatically generate all of this was complicated. But once I got it in place, then I could, that was amazing, because when you have test data, sometimes you mess it up in various different ways. Here I can just click a button, I've got this entire database. Obviously every time I do a new feature, so when I had to do tag teams, I had to generate tag teams. Seems like there's only one tag team here, it's not active. Let's activate it. And titles, which is what I'm going to show you, and even TV. So every time I do a new feature, I also have to make the generator first, which slows things down a bit. But rosters was the first screen that I did, and I think I'm really pleased with how you have an overview of your entire roster. You can sort of compare wrestlers, everything that you'd possibly want to do with a roster. I haven't created a actual view wrestler screen, but I think this screen in itself is quite useful and is quite powerful. Just from the click of it, you can, for example, demote a wrestler. So he's now an upper mid-carder, send him to development, convert him to a manager. Don't have a roster split, but I could create one. Turn into test. There you go. So it's really powerful, and it's I think it functionally looks good. I think it's quite cool. As soon as I finished that, I moved on to the tag teams. So now you have the ability to create a tag team, edit your existing tag teams, modify the teams in any sort of way. The dogs was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm not very good at naming things, as you guys know. So let's have Lisbeth and Salvador. It's an intergender team. I kind of need to change that a little bit. But yeah, you have the ability to activate, manage teams, change their finisher. And so on. And this was, I think the last update that I gave you guys was on the 3rd of March, so we're now kind of 24 days in. I was hoping that this was only going to take 2 weeks. But the complexity was that in titles you have multiple different holders, so like you can have trios and tag team titles, and to kind of reconcile all of that, so to be able to store the history. Sometimes the tag teams are existing tag teams, so they're tag teams like the Vanguard Outlaws or the Dogs, or they're just makeshift guys, you know, two people just put together. So I had to be able to handle that. I had to handle trios and so on, and there's all these kind of things like rankings and all that stuff. And I had to do the blasted game world generator as well, which always takes time. But anyway, this is sort of the finished screen. So like a lot of the UIs, you have a filter panel at the top, so we can have a look at, so we have a tag team championship and we have a trios championship. We have our singles titles. I don't think we have a lightweight title. No, we have a heavyweight titles, and I think we have a bunch of women's titles. I say a bunch. We've got 4. I think that's quite a lot, and a bunch of male titles as well. So you have the ability. Oh, you can also filter by. So you've got your main event titles, upper mid card, and lower mid card as well. And as you can see here, you can sort of drill down. You can see that it's generated the history. So these two guys seem to have traded the title back and forth between them. Zachary's managed to have a really lengthy, almost I don't know how many months that is, but he's had a pretty long reign for biggest chunk of the year. And Bruno right now is on the shortest title reign because he's only just won it now. And if we progress the game, so let's go 4 days in the future, 3 days, sorry. So now you can see that the reign is now, this is all calculated in real time. And I think we can Universal Championship, let's just call it the World Championship. We're traditionalists. You can rename the title. If you suspend the title, you can't get an opinion on it, but you can suspend it, you can bring it back. I said we had too many women's titles, right? Let's get rid of one of them. Junior Heavyweight Championship. We have the ability, this is quite interesting, we have the ability to get opinions on the staff on the title. In EWR it was very like, oh, this team is not good, give it to this team instead. What I wanted to do was this is an AI, but I wanted it to give you feedback which was immersive. So it takes into account 3 things. One is the worker itself, so for the title and the position in the card that it is, who are the other people that can contend for this title, and how does the current holder, how do they compare with the other contenders? And based on that, so if the contender is pretty strong, then it will say, okay, that's a suitable candidate, or it's a not suitable candidate. And then based on that, it also, you know, as I showed you here, you've got the length of the title. So you know what the average, so all of these reigns, you know what the average reign is. So this could be a title that traditionally the holder has it for a long period of time, or you can have a short period of time, and then compared to the current reign compared to that. So maybe there's a title reign that is gone on well past, so normally this title gets switches hand every month, and this title reign has gone on for 6 months. So you might think at this point, if there are more other contenders, maybe it's, you know, you might want to switch it around. So based on all these different scenarios, it comes up with something. So here it's saying that this title, which is a lower level title, the goal is to elevate new talent, and there isn't a lot of contenders. We've got 2 openers. So in this case, Mayumi Hayashi, we're going to keep her as a champion because there's nobody else to give it to, and we want to try and grow it. So these are contextually, they'll change. So if we go to the main event title, I think it will say something. Okay, so the women's title is vacant. So we can say that obviously it's a vacancy at a higher level, so we need somebody who can do it. But There isn't. So you've only got, this is the world title, and you don't really have a main eventer, so there isn't really anybody that can handle the title at this stage. So as you can see, this is an AI, but it is contextual, and I think it's quite cool. Once we have matches in there and various other things, then we can really add to this. So for example, this champion has had really good matches over the last few months, or his matches have dropped off, and I think the feedback can become very, very useful to you as well. So yeah, anyway, let's this title, we don't have anybody that can actually have it, so let's just retire it. As soon as you retire it, goes away from here. I'll show all the belts now, and what happens is it actually gets grayed out and shows at the end here, so you can see that that's kind of vacant. The status is now retired, and if you click on this button here, as I had done previously, so what the UI actually remembers your state. So if I log out and come back in again, it will remember the state that I had it on. So I'd hidden it, so there's something quite that I thought I'd point out. So anyway, with this sort of button, you can, remove the retired titles and bring them back in. The only other thing I want to show you is that you can also create a title. I think we didn't have a lightweight title, so let's create a cruiserweight title. This is Ring Pro World, so RPW Cruiserweight. We don't need to put championship because it will automatically put it there. These are stock images, and I just found I just paid for it from a stock website. But what I will do is, closer to when the game is actually almost finished, I'll hire a game designer and graphics designer, and we'll come up with a set of graphics that match. And I'm also hoping that the people that make mods, I'll hope that they'll come up with scenarios, and you'll have either retro and even realistic nowadays, current day titles. But anyway, we're going to go for a cruiserweight title, right? So we'll go for that one there. RPW Cruiserweight, it's a mid-card title for the guys, solo, and only for the lightweight. So let's create that title. And there we go, now we have the lightweight title. And if we get the staff opinion, we can see that Gabriel is probably going to be the best contender for that title. So yeah, this is the update. It took a little bit longer. As I said, I wanted to get it done in 2 weeks, and it was a little bit longer than that. The next thing I want to do now is go and work on the TV. Before I work on the TV, I'll take a detour and I'll get the stables, which is sort of similar to tag teams. And the reason for that is here you can actually have, so if we go and have a look at the multiple trios title, you can see that this is a random collection of 3 guys because I don't have stables. But the trios title could also be held by a stable as well, so you'd have the stable name. So because stables don't actually exist in the game at the moment, so factions don't exist, I haven't been able to code them, but they're part of the tag team side of things. So to finish this code, I'd want to do that. And same things, if you go down to TV, you can see that we're now setting commentators play-by-play in color, but we don't actually have any staff members, so we can't really do that. And staff is, like I said, it's going to be very similar to this. You'll have filters at the top, so you'll be able to filter the staff, their position, road agents, trainers, whatever. Maybe some filtering options here, and it'll be similar where you can see their general information, their statistics on how good they do, their contracts and characteristics and so on. So staff is going to be similar to roster. Stables or factions is going to be similar to tag teams. I need to put that icon in there, get rid of the web icon since that won't be there at the moment. I wanted that to be generic articles, as I said, but yeah, we don't have space here, so that's going to have to go. World is going to be a sneak preview into other promotions. I want to create a link here so that when you click here, you get to see a snapshot of your promotion. And then you click on World and you can see other promotions, and you can go and hire free agents and see how the other promotions are doing, see their events and so on. Events, so once television is done, television is the contracted events that you have to do. Events will be seeing all the events that you have on, so house shows and booking pay-per-views and so on. But also you'll be able to book the venues that these events are at, because you have the guaranteed money that you negotiate here from the television networks, and then in events you have the venue booking and you have the gate, and from there that's your income coming in, and you have the expenses, obviously booking the venue and so on, the worker salaries, and that kind of distills into finances. If we can make this a really good financial simulator to make it a good business game, so that not only does it appeal to people that like wrestling, but I have enjoyed games that I've had no interest in the genre itself, but because the game itself was so good, I've had this kind of like, it's introduced me to it. So ideally in my fantasy world, that this game would be immersive and interesting for people, and it brings in new fans. But once we get to that point, when events and events is really difficult because of the calendar. That's going to take me a long time to do. Finance is difficult because I haven't really designed it yet, but I have I'm sharing my whole screen so I can show you. I've got that's not it. Somewhere I've got like a finances spec, which shows you everything that I'm going to put into there, but I'll put that into the Discord at some point. So finances is done, world is going to be pretty simple. Then we have the actual, when you click on a wrestler, to be able to see the wrestler. For things like, you can see a lot of the stuff already, but you might want to change the gimmick and a few other things that would be useful when you click on a wrestler, and for the immersion factor of it. And then we have feuds and booking, and obviously the other side where the agents, so like other promotions, are booking and counter booking and all of that. So it seems like we're almost there. Thanks for listening to this update. I hope it's taking a little bit longer than I expected, but I hope you can see over the last few months there's been a lot of progress, and we've got something that really resembles a game, and I think it'll be fun once it's done. If you have any comments, you have any feedback for me, or even if you have criticism of what you've seen, I'd love for you to go into the Discord and pop a message there. I'll reply to everybody that does. And also, if you can spread the word and you can send this video to other people and send them link to the game, I'd also appreciate that as well. Thanks for listening. Bye guys.